Hello, everybody. This is Vandy here, and today is going to be my very first One Piece chapter review. And I gotta say, I timed it out to pick a absolutely phenomenal chapter to start making videos on One Piece. And this is for chapter 1155, titled The Rocks Pirates. Obviously, this chapter, it's all about rocks, and the experience for the whole chapter was just phenomenal. I don't know what it is about Oda and when he actually gives us, substantive chapters on previous generations and old legends. There's just something so grandiose about it when we see them that just feels different from the current timeline. One's not better than the other, but it just feels different and it instantly gets me hyped. And I think it's just because when we go back, we typically are only seeing some of the most important events play out. So it's always high octane or like full of lore or new character introductions or just connecting pieces that we've had missing in the past. So the chapter opens up with Loki and Rox, where we left off from the end of last chapter, from Rox asking Loki the question of if he's on Elbaf and if Harold is present. And Loki, surprisingly, he just cooperates. He's like, yeah, you're on Elbaf, but no, my dad's not here. And he's the king, so he's out doing his duties. He's on an expedition, and Rox is basically like, well, that's good to know that he's your dad. So you're gonna tell him that you got seriously injured, so you can get him to come back here. And Loki's like, absolutely not. I'm not doing that. My dad's the king. He wouldn't do that. And I'm a prince. Why are you talking to me like that? You puny human. And, I can't even blame Loki. One, he is still a child and has had a horrible, horrible childhood. But also, he is absurdly ginormous and strong. So, his first time seeing humans who are even smaller than the giants that he's surrounded by, he's like, get out of here. I'm not doing that. And Rox, honestly, is not even listening. He's not even listening. Loki's talking and kind of belittling him, and he's already pulling back for an attack. He just lays into Loki. And he's like, boom, cool. You are seriously injured. Now we can get Harold to come back. So, the guy had a plan, and, we end up finding out later on in the chapter that it worked. But this is also when we got a very cool narrator's box talking about Rox and his swordsmanship and how it operates. Basically, even though he's wielding a sword, it hits more of like a blunt weapon, like a hammer or like a blast from a cannon. So it's just very cool to see a different type of swordsmanship. Now, obviously, with the wording in the text box, I already knew that people are going to go crazy with agendas and debates about the swordsmanship situation, because that has just been a topic for, I don't even know how many years now. I've been reading and watching One Piece for close to 20 years at this point. And this has been a reoccurring topic for a very, very long time. It just so happens to be that the state of the anime and manga community, especially for One Piece, is more heavily saturated with like pure agenda, which I'm not even going to get into all that right now. I plan on making a separate follow-up video regarding my beliefs and also confusions around swordsmanship in One Piece, and just what it means for the powers that be. So shelving that for now, we actually cut back to the past, to the Holy Land, when Harold was there and Rox was there as well. But we open with finding out that 5 different kings have been kidnapped. And that is just creating this absolute chaos, obviously, in the Holy Land during the Reverie. And then we cut to the Flower Room, where Xebec is there in the Flower Room with Imu. Like, never has it happened before, and I believe it says, like, never will this happen again. I mean, I don't understand, one, how he even got there, to be honest. Because I could maybe understand, like, getting to the Gorosei. But all the way to the Flower Room, to Imu, to the king of the entire world, this dude just, he's there. He's there. He clearly created a distraction. We don't know if maybe he had cooperation, but as of right now, it seems like he was just totally alone, which is crazy in itself. It's like, did he stow away in a procession with another kingdom? Was he like, incognito, kind of how Sabo in the crew got in there? Or honestly, like, I just want to know how he did it. I don't know if we'll ever find out, because it's probably really not that important. But the important part is he's there in front of Imu. And even Imu is like, the lives of, 5 sovereigns is, you can't use that against Mu. Like, what is that? Imu doesn't care. He doesn't care. I don't know, he or she, I can't, that dang silhouette, and Oda with his silhouettes, you just never know what they're going to look like. And they're just like, I don't care. And even Rox is like, yeah, I assumed, but like, created some chaos, which gave him the opportunity to get in there. And we also get this very interesting text box about Rox being a Davy Jonesian pirate. So maybe that's where he drew his inspiration from. Obviously, we had the just teensy tiny bit of knowledge around Davy Jones and, Long Ring, Long Land, and the Davy back fights. So clearly there's going to be some more lore or validity to Davy Jones actually existing, maybe still existing, or I don't know. There's a lot of implications there. It's very interesting. And they made a point to just say, this is the type of pirate he is. Like it's different. And we find out later in the chapter, at least where my brain goes, for the distinction of that type of pirate. But then we get, Rox is there. Presumably he was there to find out maybe about Imu. Maybe he got suspicious. He's like, I need to know how this whole thing runs. What's going on with the Tenryubuto? What is actually happening in the Holy Land? What's the information we don't know? Like, was he tipped off? Did someone else kind of give him a hint? Did he hear it somewhere? Or did he, just through his own research and obsession, was he like, I need to know? But then he gets up there, and then he's face to face with Imu. And it even says, like, he realizes this is as far as he goes this time. So is that an indication of being in Imu's presence and like, ooh, okay, I understand what's going on now, but this may be at current moment a bit above my skis. Like this thing here, a little too much. I need to come back with a squad, basically. I need to assemble the degenerate Avengers of the One Piece world. But he leaves with these epic words of his return. Like, one day I'll be back. And I just love that because it is like a retreat, but at the same time, it's tactical. He's not, whatever his intentions were for coming there, it's not, oh, I see the person who actually is ruling the world, I'm just going to take him out, like right now. That's very, aggressive and also not really thinking, bigger picture through. So he pulled back, he restrained, and he's like, all right, I know what's going on, but I will be back. So that was just epic. We do see Gunko, or at least a girl who appears to look very, very similar to Gunko. So don't know what's going on there because this is a flashback and Gunko still looks relatively young in current Elbaf, but we have the Gorosei who have also still looked the same. So we don't know if the Holy Knights function the same with their contract that they may have with Imu. I don't know. We just need more information on how that stuff actually works. So I'm not going to go like too crazy into the Gunko theories. But there's somebody there who looks like her. Like, if it's not her, I'm shocked. So then we cut actually to Harold, who we know Harold snuck in basically to the Reverie with some sort of ally. So an allied king. First of all, I don't know how you even sneak Harold in. He's not only a giant, but he's an ancient giant. So this king that he went with, they're just like, oh yeah, sir, this is cool. Oh my God. Anyways, yeah, come on in. Yeah, that guy's cool. They just let him right in. But then obviously with the commotion that Rox caused with the other kings, they basically go right to Harold as the culprit. They're like, yep, you are ginormous, scary. It was definitely you. There's no contest here. So he's like on fire running and he's like, it wasn't me, but they don't care. And the Celestial Dragons are just like, oh yeah, you know what? Actually, he's huge. I want that one as a slave. Oh no, we should stuff him. Oh no, the typical absolute just deranged things that the Celestial Dragons do and talk about. It's so funny because you get like desensitized to it. The things that they're actually saying are horrendous, but we've just come to expect that and know that is in their nature. So we just kind of glance right past it. But anyways, they're running, or Harold's running, they're chasing after him. Sure enough, here comes Rox. He's running, and they both are like, whoa, hey. Harold's like, it was definitely that guy, and I am being the scapegoat for him. I don't like that. So then they basically just, boom, clash. Epic spread. We get them, they're not touching, so both using Advanced Conqueror's Haki. Those panels are always epic to see. Just the no touching, it's amazing. This really, for me, gives kind of a upscale for Harold. Obviously, it was just a clash, but the fact that he could even do that, and he utilizes Advanced Conqueror's Haki, I got to put some more respect on the Giants' name. I don't think they've had the best rep. Harden doesn't really help the case, but I think he's going to grow. And obviously this translates directly to Loki stocks, which Loki clearly is going to be a monster in strength. So it's not very surprising that his dad is him. So they clash. They're both laughing. They introduce each other as, powerful people do in the One Piece world. we fight, we chat it up, we kind of become friends instantly. That's kind of what happened, or at least, hey, you know what? Let's just team up for the moment here. So then they, have a quick chat. Harold's like, "Where the heck is Elbath from here?" And Rox is like, "Oh yeah, it's this way." And Harold just straight up jumps off the red line. And I get it. He's an ancient giant. And I know we've seen with like Kaido and even Loki falling from the Sun Realm down to the underworld. We've seen massive falls. But still, the top of the red line, this dude just jumped off. Because it doesn't matter if you hit water or the ground. It's basically the same thing at that height. So Harold's just built like that. One Piece characters just insane. And so then we cut away from that flashback. But from that event, we know that before, it must have been from the time Rox left the flower room to meeting Harold. That was when he presumably fought the unknown admiral. Because it said that he had just fought the admiral moments before that whole situation with Harold. And then we know after that event that the admiral did end up passing away from his injuries. They could not save him. So, I mean, that is a really big feat. That's the first admiral. We don't know who it was. We don't even know the context of the situation. They're within the Holy Land. I'm not going to get into, the scaling of it. Regardless of the situation, it is impressive. It's an impressive feat for Rox. And the first person we've seen in the story to do that. So, got to give the man props, But from that is actually what catapulted him to immediately, I'm assuming, getting a massive bounty. We don't get to see the actual amount, but it's very easy to know it's going to be huge. It's going to be huge. So we have Rox's infamy basically explodes after that event in the Holy Land and with the Admiral. And he then goes on to attack the Celestial Tribute. So he's like, oh, boom, attack that. I'm going to take all those funds, because then he's going to use those funds for his pirate activities. It's honestly a very, very smart thing to do. And it's similar to what the Revolutionary Army has been doing to squeeze the Celestial Dragons as well. They started, taking some of the tribute that was coming in, so they're reducing their money, and the Rev is additionally destroying their food supply chain, which squeezes them even more, because then they're still eating, but not nearly as much. So, and somehow it mentions the gates of justice get destroyed. I don't understand how that happens. It just gets thrown in there, like, oh yeah, and then the gates of justice got destroyed. What? The gates of justice are humongous. I thought they were basically impenetrable. How did they get destroyed? What happened? Tell me what happened. But no, it just gets thrown in there as like a little throwaway. So that's crazy. Don't know what happened, but still crazy. And clearly they repaired it from that time. I don't know. I'm not going to think about it too much, because I feel like it's just one of those kind of like little cool lore throwaways. But who knows? Maybe not. Maybe we'll get some more info on it. And up until that point, Rox had pretty much exclusively been targeting government ships and government places. But then now he after the event in the Holy Land, he starts targeting pirates as well. And that's how we know that he actually began assembling his monstrous, legendary crew was through Davy back fights. This dude was literally targeting pirate crews, singling out their strongest guy or most impressive or most interesting, and was like, yeah, I want you, Davy back fight. So obviously I think that earlier piece of describing him as a Davy Jonesian pirate probably has to deal with the way he operates, where he is very focused on like the Davy back fights, maybe not just like direct conflict with people, even though he's plenty strong to be able to do so. But he's like, well, why not just kind of take what I want through these games from maybe even this figure that I admire. So we might get some more information regarding that, but I always thought it was interesting because I was like, why did Shiki, Whitebeard, Captain John, Ochoku, all those people, why did they choose to follow Rox? Was it just because he was strong? That kind of just didn't seem like it made sense. And it also seemed pretty obvious that they didn't like support his dreams. Like they weren't like fully on board of like, yeah, I want to make, like, I'm here to be serving under Rox. It just never felt that way. It was all very similar to Blackbeard's crew currently, where it's like, yeah, we're not friends. We are just going after a goal that benefits all of us. It's mutually beneficial relationship, not friendship. Two very different things. So he just starts assembling. You know, he gets Newgate, he gets Miss Buchan, he starts getting all of these people. And it's just really cool to see him in the chapter. He's like talking to the crew that he's already got from Davy back fights. And he's like, oh, those pirates over there, they got this really crazy dude. Just wait till you see him. You'll love him. He's just like, it's like he's shopping. He's went to the store and he's like, oh, wait till you see this pair of shoes over there. You're going to love it. And he just goes and gets it because apparently the dude is just not only powerful in combat settings, but the Davy back fights. They're a bunch of random games and stuff, but this guy clearly seems to just be winning in all of these games. So it's just really cool to see how he operates as a pirate and how it differs from, I mean, a lot of the pirate crews that we've seen so far. So he assembles his crew, and then we finally cut back to Elbaf. So we're back to Elbaf after the Loki situation at the beginning of the chapter, and Harold's back. Harold has come back. We're now in like their royal, like kind of dining hall situation. They're having a feast, and, you know, Harold shows concern for Loki. He's like, hey, I heard the news. I got back. I'm glad that you've like turned a corner. Like you are now on the upswing of your recovery. And he's like, Loki, I know you're strong, but you probably shouldn't be going down into the underworld. There's just dangerous things down there. And, you know, I want you to be safe. And it's really sad because Loki is such a strong denial of love existing, obviously from his birth and the situation in Elbaf and everyone blaming him for everything. And so he just like doesn't trust genuine connection. And it's sad because Harold is actually showing concern for him. And Loki's just like, nah, it's just like he really came back because I was injured. Nah, it's just a coincidence. There's no way. That's not possible. So it is very tragic to see. And of course, Rox just tries to recruit Harold He's like, yo, Harold, join up. Let's go. Let's do this thing. And Harold's like, no, absolutely not. That would throw away all the work that I've done. All of the connections that I've made would be thrown away because you are a world-renowned criminal. So no, I'm not going to do that. And Rox basically gives his, kind of worldview where he's like, who the heck cares? Those guys that you've made relationships with, they're just government pawns anyways. Why does it matter? Elbaf is a nation of warriors. If you see something you don't like, just crush it and change it yourself. Join me. Together, we will be unstoppable. And Harold, I got to give it to him. The man sticks, with his conviction. In that moment, it probably would be quite enticing. You have this very charismatic, very powerful person with an extremely impressive crew right in front of you that is actively working towards a change. Maybe not the change you imagined, but a big change in the world. And that's exactly what you want to see in a different way through connection and actually like bridging the gap between different peoples. But still, this is for a lesser person that is not as strong in their beliefs. This would be very difficult to turn down. And Harold, he sticks with it. He's like, no, Elbaf is in a new phase. We are not just bloodlusted warriors. We are changing our ways. We are going to be different as a people. And it's just very cool to see because obviously since we've arrived at Elbaf, we've seen the children. None of them want to fight. We're also kind of like, oh, what? Like, at least I was like, what the heck is going on here? Why turn them all super soft? Like, it's like the exact opposite. You went from extreme conquering warriors to literally they can't do anything. They're scared to even look at a weapon. That seems like a little bit of an overcorrection, but I digress on that. And we get an awesome spread of the current, what I would call like executives of the Rox Pirates, commanders, basically. We get to see Shiki there. He's got the title of Shiki the Wicked, which is really cool. Must have been a pretty bad dude, honestly, to get that name. I don't know exactly how that goes. And an interesting switch up to the Golden Lion later on. But Shiki, it's funny because Harold is talking about like, what are you guys doing here? Like, if you follow this guy, he's crazy. Like, this dude is crazy. He's going to lead you all to ruin. And they're like, what do you mean follow? And this is where I was kind of talking about the Davy Bag fights, and they're almost there. They're there by obligation. They got basically traded against their will, and now they have to follow Rox, but they're also in it. They realize they can get financial and status gain by cooperating and going along with this dude's crazy plans. So we see Shiki, then we see Miss Buckin. We see a new character, Don Marlin. He's like a gangster from the West Blue. Don't know if he has any relationship to Capone. I believe Capone is from the West Blue. It's so hard. Every single new character we see, we're like, whose dad are they? Whose dad? It's just Nepo babies all over the place now. Which also does make sense. You have like, in the real world, there's like military families. There was also like mafia families. You just kind of like sometimes get pushed into the trajectory of what your family and the closest people around you are doing. So it's not very surprising. So we see Don Marlin. Then we see Edward Newgate. Doesn't have the moniker of Whitebeard yet. But then we get to see Ochoku, which we know was mentioned with the Rocky Port incident, which is where Blackbeard actually took Hachinosu back. And he had the aide, if we're going to call it aid, of Law and Kobe to take out this guy who was the admiral of Hachinosu. And this guy looks, again, here we go again, he looks exactly like Caribou and Karibo. He looks like their dad. So now potentially we have more children from a legendary figure. And then the last one we see is Ganzui, which we saw him all the way back, his corpse in Thriller Bark as one of the general zombies of Moria's army. So that kind of seems to be like the commanders of the Rocks Pirates. We know later on, obviously, we get Big Mom and Kaido and Captain John and Silver Axe. Like, those people come later. But this seems to be like the core group that is going to be used, because they talk about Hachinosu in this chapter, how it was used by all these different nations as a place to send exiled criminals to basically just die. Just die. There's no resources there. Just go and die. But it turns out some shadowy organization found out that there's actually gold, like massive gold deposits under the island or on the island, and they actually help the criminals to start extracting it, and I'm assuming give them supplies to where they can actually like eat and survive and live. And basically the government's like, we don't like that. So Rocks took that opportunity to say, well, you guys can't get that back because any ship that comes near is just going to get swarmed by these criminals. And it's probably not worth the risk for you guys. So how much are you willing to pay for me and my guys to go get it back for you? So he's going to get a paycheck for going and taking Hachinosu. But then he's like, little do they know, I'm not giving it back. I'm going to turn it into the pirate heaven, amass all those criminals into my crew, and we are going to take down the Navy and the Holy Land, and I am going to become the king of the world. Xebec ambition, honestly, it's the biggest ambition in the entire series. Bigger than the Pirate King, bigger than basically anything. That is the king of the world. Imu's position is the top of the top that almost nobody even knows exists. And this man is shooting for it. He's like, I am getting that. So his ambition is just crazy, but also really cool. And it seems to be potentially the ambition literally that Blackbeard is going after. But Blackbeard seems to be going after the One Piece first to become Pirate King, to then maybe jump up to do that. We don't know yet. Still need more in that regard. But then, it ends while, Rocks is having this grandiose speech of his dream and what he's going after. Loki is listening. Loki's eavesdropping. And this child who has been through so much, he sees this and he hears the world and like this bigger picture and this grandiose scheme, and it actually brings him salvation. And it's really sad. It's really sad because it gave him something to be inspired about, but it was because of the absolute neglect and tragedy that he's experienced. So Loki is just becoming a phenomenal character. Super, super good. Don't know what his future holds, if it leans towards Straw Hat, but it also seems like it could lean towards Blackbeard, which that is a problem. That is a big problem. If he joins Blackbeard, that's a big problem. But that would, he wanted to go with Rocks. but he didn't get to go with Rox, and Rox died, presumably. And Blackbeard is his son. I don't know. Kind of scared about that potentially. But then the chapter finally comes to a close when Rox's plan to take Hachinosu comes to fruition. It finally happens. Years later, he takes it, becomes the king, basically, of Pirate Island, and now he's getting ready to set sail, to finally begin to put his plan into action. And the ending of that chapter just, it gave me chills, because I don't know if Oda, this seems to be God Valley. This seems to be what's leading into God Valley. And after we got a little snippet of God Valley, Oda yanked us away, didn't let us, fully get into that. So I don't know if Oda's going to pull it away from us again. So get us to this point right here, and then swoop right back to the current timeline. I could definitely see him doing that. We're going on a break this week, I believe, so I wouldn't be surprised. But I'm hoping, I have some good hope that he is going to give us the rest of God Valley, or at least let us come back to it and give us some more. Just give us some more, because now we actually know Rox. We know the previous steps for him to actually get onto God Valley. So I'll be hoping, regardless of if we cut back or if we stay, I'll be here next chapter, raring to go. So thank you guys for sitting through this. Obviously, it's a long one. I like to kind of expound on a lot of different things within the chapter. There's even more I could have talked about, but this is it for chapter 1155. Thank you if you're here. I appreciate you taking your time out of your day to watch this. And I love connecting over One Piece. I'm also going to be covering Kagurabachi chapters weekly as well. And like I said earlier in the video, I am going to be doing a video on swordsmanship in One Piece. Just like an open discussion, the things that I believe to be true and my current confusions around it, because there are some things that I'm genuinely confused about, and I'd love to connect with other readers and try to at least get closer to a true understanding. So anyways, I digress. Thank you guys for being here. Peace.